Hello, everybody. It's Monday, January 25th. It's 2:38, and this is the podcast. I'm your host. Yeah, I've been wanting to say that for a while. I'm Garrett Sims. A lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, it was a great weekend. I mean, I think this one, it was a nice one. Got to go home Friday. Got to relax. Got to be with the family. Got to see one of my best friends. Gender reveal parties, and he's having a girl. It's awesome. I'm proud. I'm happy for him. Then, you got to finish Sunday up with football, and I don't think anybody can really argue that that's a great way to end a weekend. Like, it is the greatest way to end a weekend is football. And unfortunately, we only have one more game left of just football before, there's no more football to talk about. Other than that, I was pretty happy. Chiefs won. You can't ask for anything more than that. Mahomes played his butt off. There's a lot of takeaways. You can probably take away from that game, and it's just outstanding. I felt like all this year, though, the playoffs hadn't really felt like the playoffs. If anybody knows, like you're sitting there trying to watch the game, and you just feel like, man, this really doesn't feel like the playoffs. And I don't know if it's because maybe I'm getting older and I'm starting to realize, like, every football game is a football game, even though that, like, there's way more on the line in the postseason than there is in regular season, or it's just because of the lack of fans. I mean, when it comes down to the postseason that the stadiums are packed, and, any certain change of momentum or any big play makes a huge uproar. So maybe that's why I'm thinking that it didn't feel like the playoffs. But, I mean, you go into that and you're just like, man, this just has the atmosphere. And I just maybe feel like there's not enough atmosphere, and it sucks because of COVID. And this Super Bowl is going to feel really weird because not only is Tampa Bay going to be the home team playing at their home stadium. Well, I don't know if they're necessarily a home team, but they're going to be playing at their home stadium. And that's never been done before in NFL history. Because this is a podcast and I do what I want when I want. We're going to talk a little bit of sports. My takeaways from the Packers-Buccaneers games is, it just felt like the Packers didn't want to be there. Like, every time you seen them out on the field, it was just like, man, you really feel like they didn't have a chance. Like, Brady went down the field and commanded the ball, scored a touchdown. Packers got the ball. And it was just kind of like, they were just, it felt like they were stuttering. It felt like they weren't at their full potential, which was terrible for them because they had worked their butts off all season. And, there was a couple momentum changers. And then, towards that second half, Brady started throwing those interceptions. He threw 3 of them, which I think is something to be a little bit concerned about, but also as a praise to how good their defense is. Anytime the Bucs needed to stop, the defense was able to do it, and the Bucs did what they wanted to do by getting those turnovers. They just couldn't do offensively what they wanted to do. Like, the Bucs defense just stood tall and said, "Nope, we're not going to let you get anywhere," virtually canceling out those 3 interceptions. You go to one play in the game, and I think this is such a monumental part of the game. Aaron Rodgers went to throw the ball. He kind of pulled up a little bit at the line of scrimmage and threw it. I watched it live, and I said, "Why isn't he running?" He had a huge gap he had a chance at the pylon. And you're sitting there. Even if he runs with the ball and he doesn't get there, he makes that distance shorter. It makes it easier. Opened up the playbook a little bit to where now you can run it. You may get down to the 1. Like, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I didn't get that. I was looking at it and I said, there was a huge opening, and I said, "Run, Rodgers, run! Like, you had the touchdown." And they still would have needed a 2-point conversion anyway. But I just felt like they could have did what they did against the Rams, and did that Devontae Adams motion him back, and then just have him on that out route. But I mean, I don't know what was going on there. A lot of people are blaming Matt LaFleur for kicking that field goal, and I don't blame him. You have to look at the situation sometimes. And, everything's a chain reaction. Everything's like, oh, well, this happened, so this is going to happen. If Aaron Rodgers runs that ball, it's probably closer to a touchdown, which makes it LaFleur's decision a little bit easier. But what he was probably thinking is, I can kick the field goal, and I can try to onside, or I can trust my defense. And their defense had actually played pretty good for the second half. It was just a first half. And really, if you wanted to blame it on anybody, the Green Bay corner, Kevin King, had a tremendously bad first half. Tom Brady was calling his number all day. I mean, he could have thrown anything he wanted in the direction of Kevin King, and it would have worked out for him. So the Packers defense stiffened up. I think they changed some things going out of halftime. They kind of figured it out a little bit because the Bucs were kind of stunned. They weren't doing some things as well as they were in the first half. So I get where he was coming from. And so a lot of people are going to blame Matt LaFleur. And listen, I'm not calling for his job because what he's done with that team has been nothing short of amazing. There's only one guy to blame. You can blame Kevin King, but I mean, listen, they have so many loaded wide receivers, you're bound to get a number one wide receiver on maybe not your best corner. That's how it works. And you can't have Jaire Alexander just play Mike Evans because then Chris Godwin's going to get open. So I don't blame that on the Packers defense. I blame it on Aaron Rodgers. I mean, listen, you can look at the stats and you can see through an interception, and that interception was just a good play by the defender. It wasn't Rodgers' fault. He made the right read. He didn't try to force it. He put it on the money, and the defender made a good play on a play that should have been a penalty for holding, defensive holding. And people are going to be like, oh, well, why are you going to go ahead and go blame Aaron Rodgers? Because the excuse was, you remember, he won. He's now, I think, 1-5 in conference championship games. He won 1. He's lost 5. You can't give him a break just because he's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers can play phenomenally in the postseason, but when it comes down to the conference championship, he can't get past it. He can't get over that hump. Did it one time, but couldn't do it this time. And now he's uncertain of what his future is with that team. Aaron, you just had an MVP season. I know you lost to the Bucs the first time, but now you had a chance, your first ever chance at a conference championship at home. You were at home, Aaron. He had Tom Brady coming to his place, and he couldn't get the job done. And, you can say, well, they don't have the weapons that the Bucs do and all those different things, but Green Bay could have won that game. It came down to a matter of a play. And it felt like, for me, the moment that ball was kicked off, I said, this is Tom Brady's game. That's how I felt. That's my gut feeling. I felt like Tom Brady, from the time he touched the ball on the first drive, he had that game locked up. And it's nothing against Aaron Rodgers, but it just looked like he choked. Like, we didn't see a dominant Aaron Rodgers. And there was something else that I picked up on that game, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't know if anybody has ever stated this before. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is a leader. A lot of people's leader is their quarterback. Tom Brady is a leader. Patrick Mahomes is a leader. Drew Brees was a leader. Peyton Manning was a leader. They were guys that you would look up to, and they could get you motivated. And watching the Packers game, I just said, are we sure that Aaron Rodgers is the true leader? Like, who is the leader on the Packers? Who motivates that team? Who could potentially motivate that team? And it doesn't have to be a star player. Anybody can lead. And I'm looking through and I said, Aaron Jones, nah, probably not. I said, Devontae Adams, maybe. I think David Bakhtiari, and I was like, you just see Aaron in his body language, and he's not trying to get anybody fired up. He's just another guy on the sideline, and I saw it yesterday, and I felt like I had to bring it up. I just don't feel like Aaron Rodgers is a true leader. So if Packers fans want to blame that game on anybody, you got your quarterback to blame. He made some good throws, but he just didn't have that X Factor Rodgers dominant factor that he normally has going into every game. Like, it just felt like he was out of it. You look into his eyes, and you just felt like he was out of it. And for once, the Buccaneers came out, and they didn't stutter in that first half. They did not. They were rolling. They were on fire. They started stuttering in the second half, which allowed the Packers to come back, and the Packers came down to one play. If Aaron Rodgers would have just sacrificed his body, would have at least just ran the ball instead of trying to force it somewhere where it shouldn't have been, I think the outcome might be a little bit different. With that being said, Tampa Bay is going to be the first team in NFL history to ever play in their home stadium for the Super Bowl. And it felt like they were seriously the first team that could do it. The Vikings could have did it a couple years ago, Super Bowl 52, and it kind of felt like, they have Case Keenum. Like, there's no way. Maybe, but probably not. And I just felt like the Bucs this year had a good chance. Like, anytime you have Tom Brady at quarterback, you have a chance. Billy B probably wasn't even watching that game. I mean, like, if Belichick was watching that game, I'd be surprised, because that's got to tear him up downside, because he let his pride split up those two. Bill Belichick didn't want to go get him a wide receiver, go get him a tight end, go get him a running back, and let pride, and they split up, and it really looks one-sided at this point. But congrats to Brady, man. I mean, he, other than 3 interceptions, I mean, the dude's playing tremendous football. Dude is playing tremendous football. For his age, I think he'll play next year, regardless of the outcome. I think he'll play next year. Then the question marks start kind of arriving, but I think he probably plays 3 years with the Buccaneers, including this year, maybe 4 if you're lucky. So I don't think him playing until he's 45 is crazy at all. Let's flip the switch. Let's go to the Bills and Chiefs. Me being a Chiefs fan, I felt like this game went on for hours. I mean, it normally goes for about 2 to 3 hours, but it felt like 6 or 7, and that's just how anxious I get. I think when you watch your own team play football, you just get anxious and anxious and anxious. So I'm watching it, and the Bills go down the field, and they score 3 points. Chiefs get the ball. They go ahead. They punt it. Bills get the ball. Chiefs defense stands stout, stops them. Then McCole Hardman drops a punt. At that point, my heart dropped, because I'm like, here we go again. It just felt like one of those moments where it's like, here we go again on another miscue that shouldn't even be a miscue. You're going to hand basically the Bills 7 points because they're at the 1-yard line. Like, they're going to get that score. I mean, just how the NFL works. I mean, it'd be shocking if somebody. I mean, it's happened. Okay, gonna move on. So the score goes to 9-3 because the kicker missed the extra point, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, you know what? I still feel pretty good. Like, I believe in Mahomes. And then all of a sudden, the first quarter stops winding down in Chiefs fashion. They score, and then the second quarter comes, and then they just start putting it on the Bills. It was 21-9. Got up to 13-12, and I think 31-15. And really, I think it was at that point I said, like, listen, the Chiefs got this. Like, they figured it out. They couldn't stop them on offense. Andy Reid was pulling every play he had out of the playbook and just made the Bills' defense look silly. Tyreek Hill was explosive, man. I mean, basically what the Bills' defense says is, okay, we're going to give you the underneath stuff. They said, we are not going to allow you to beat us deep. We're going to drop our safeties back. We're going to force you to beat us. You can have 5 yards. You can have 6, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever you want to call it, but we're not going to let you have the home run play. Well, what started happening is they put Tyreek Hill on slants, took a page out of old Michael Thomas's book, and he was explosive. Travis Kelce had a game. Tyreek Hill had a game. Patrick Mahomes played phenomenal. And it's moments like this where you look at the Chiefs offense and everybody was doubting them. Oh, well, they hadn't played a good game since week 13. And, I think all Chiefs fans were kind of like, listen, like, they're going to turn it on when they have to. And, you hate seeing that because you want to see them come out every game and just put it on some teams. And some teams will be able to do that, but they are going to be good enough to just, like a surgeon. Okay, you give me that. I'm going to take this. Okay, now you're going to start taking away the underneath stuff. We're going to go deep. Tyreek Hill dropped a pass on the first drive that was pinpoint accuracy by Mahomes going deep, and Hill just dropped it. Score, I think, ended up being 24-38. It was not as close as the score would lead you to believe. It was one of those things. As soon as Mahomes threw that last touchdown to Kelsey where he was wide open, that was COVID-19 social distancing at its best. There wasn't even nobody around him. I said that Tony Romo had actually, I think it was either Tony or Jim Nantz said that was the final, that was the blow punch. Like, that ended the game. That's when it turns into garbage time. Bills got a garbage time touchdown, a garbage time field goal. People could probably get mad at me for saying, oh, it's garbage time. It shouldn't even be garbage time. I was having a heart attack because as soon as they got that onside kick, I was like, oh, wow, they could actually come back and get this. Like, Chiefs fans know what it's like to have their heart broken. They would know the Marcus Mariota touchdown in the AFC wildcard a couple years ago. But the Chiefs' defense played amazing. The Bills did score 2 touchdowns. Other than that, it was field goals. And personally, I blame the 1 touchdown on the special teams unit because that ball should have been caught. So really, if you look at it, the Bills only scored 1 touchdown on the Chiefs' defense. There was chippiness throughout the entire game because this is something I want to talk about. Listen, if you want to create a narrative that the Chiefs are cocky and arrogant, I understand. But it's ignorant to say that. Because the difference between cocky and arrogant and chippy and playing with an edge are totally different. I mean, it is so different it's not even funny. The Chiefs' defense came out with an edge that game. And for those of you people that don't know what an edge is, when your coach tells you to play with an edge, it's to play relentless, to play determined, be a X-Force, wreck up their crap because that's what you want to be. Like, you have the chip on the shoulder. Like, they came in and they said, listen, we are not going to let you beat us. Stephon Diggs was non-existent. Multiple times when they showed the replay on passing plays, they were covered. I mean, there was one, they were playing, as Tony Romo would call it, a sticky coverage. And there was nobody opened. And, so the Chiefs are playing with an edge. A lot of people are pointing at the Brashad Breeland play. Listen, if you listen to it in real time, it is not as bad as what the slowdown was. They slowed it down, and you're like, oh, you know what? That should be a penalty. I don't think it should have been. Chris Jones should have been ejected. I'm surprised. I don't know personally how they didn't see it. I think it's just because they were so focused on the other stuff. He should have been ejected. And then really, there was some pushing and shoving throughout the game, but that's just what happens when 2 good football teams, truly good football teams, that either team could win a championship this year, go out and they put their heart and their emotion on their sleeve and they are fighting. They're fighting like hell to get to a Super Bowl. That's what happens. That's competitiveness. That is the football I love to watch. I don't like this, good hit. I want to see people going at it. I want to see big hits. I want to see legal big hits, but good hits. And I felt like it was perfect. The play that everybody's talking about is Josh Allen's running back. He should have thrown the ball. I forget, the one Chief was holding him up. The whistle starts blowing. Okafor takes him down. Okay, you watch it in real time. It really wasn't that bad. Okay? So then, stop there, look at it. I didn't notice the Josh Allen throwing the ball at Okafor's face mask. I thought Okafor had stood over him and was like, something like, when I get that, and then they were just coming in to defend their quarterback. I like that. But I will not defend. I will defend my quarterback any day. But when you do something stupid like that, I mean, what do you expect? Josh Allen threw the football, probably his most accurate pass of the night, to Okafor's helmet. Of course Okafor didn't like that. That's just the frustration of the Bills, a team that was red hot up until the Ravens. When they played the Ravens, they were red hot. Then they kind of simmered down that game and thought, you know what, everybody's hyping us up. We're going to go to Kansas City and we're going to win this, and we're going to let our egos get the best of us. And they let frustrations boil over, and Allen throws a football at Okafor's helmet. Okafor doesn't like that, so Okafor doesn't even put a hand on him, just starts talking. Then the two linemen come in, blows up Okafor. That was a penalty. I thought should have been an ejection, because that was well over the play, and it was ridiculous. Then the other one comes in, I think it was Dawkins, starts putting his forearm up against his throat and helmet, and I'm like, okay. So they have to review, the officials have to review, they have to make sure they're not missing anything, that way they can get the right ejections, they can get the right penalties. So at the end of the play, Okafor ends up getting a penalty, which I didn't think he should have got. Maybe for the roughing the passer, I could see that, but I didn't think it was that clear and obvious. And then the Bills got 3 between Allen, Dawkins, and I think it was Feliciano. Those were the 3. They got flags. So it turns into those penalties offset, which is bull. Because the way it should look at is, listen, okay, 45 yards to 15, cancel out the 15s, it should be a 30-yard penalty for the Bills. Push them back, knock them out of field goal range. So now they'd have to go for it or punt. Either way, they know the game's probably over. They get lucky enough by that call where they get to kick a field goal and then try again at another onside and, just dragged out the game. Truly, I felt dragged out the game because I feel like it should have been over. I think we all knew as soon as Kelsey caught that pass, it was over. And I'm not one to call out any side, and especially since I'm a Chiefs fan, I don't want to call out a side, but the Bills caused a lot of those fights. They really did. And I don't want to call anybody sore losers because everybody's a sore loser at some point in their life. Like, they hate losing. And when you invest a season like those guys have, you're going to be upset. But to take it out on the other team is a whole different deal. So, and I think the Chris Jones thing was definitely unacceptable. I think he should have been thrown out of the game as soon, because nobody even knew it happened. If they had never shown that replay, nobody would have knew it happened. Because the refs didn't even know. I don't even think the Bills sideline saw it because they were too busy looking at something else. But that's all I have to say about that. You're going to go into a Super Bowl. You're going to go and look at it. You're going to have Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady. And everybody was kind of like, it'd be cool to have Tom Brady, maybe Josh Allen, the former king of the AFC East versus the young king. But, I mean, truly, from a matchup standpoint from the NFL, this is the perfect matchup. This is absolutely perfect. Tom Brady this is his 10th Super Bowl. He's almost went to the Super Bowl 50% in his career. I think it's 48%. Mahomes has made, in 3 seasons, he's made 2 Super Bowls. So he would be over half. It'd be 66%. And it's going to be an interesting one. They played each other. Those were 2 different teams then. You're going to see Andy Reid open up the playbook. You are going to see the Chiefs on their best day. You're going to see the Buccaneers on their best day. You're going to see a healthy Buccaneers. You're going to see a healthy Chiefs. I think I would have rather see Rodgers versus Mahomes from a standpoint of this. The Chiefs, I feel like, could have beat the Packers easier. But this is for the bragging rights. Brady's got 2 wins against Mahomes. Mahomes has got 2 wins versus Brady. This is for the bragging rights. This is for the Lombardi. The Chiefs are playing really good football. Andy Reid, one of the best coaches of all time when you give him a bye week. Technically, he will have a bye week. They'll have time to get healthy. Mahomes has time to get that turf toe all healed up. Most interesting game. This is probably going to be the best Super Bowl we'll see in a while. And it's going to be interesting how they do the uniforms and what team's going to be designated home and what's going to be designated away. Personally, I think to kind of throw things off, I would want to see Tampa Bay be the away team at their home stadium, but I feel like it'd just be more right to say they earn the right to wear their home jerseys and the Chiefs will be away. I feel like that's how it deserves to be from that standpoint. But it was such a great weekend for sports. You had McGregor versus Poirier. That was a shock, I think, to everybody. Everybody expected McGregor to win. Of course, after it was over, people were obviously knocking McGregor because, the dude retired, came back out, gets his butt whooped. So Jake Paul's now, you know what? I'm not even gonna offer this guy $50 million if I'm gonna offer him $10K. Well, McGregor's not really a guy you want to question, but I would question his motivation for this. I think he's truly one of the best UFC fighters of all time. I just have to question his heart going into this, and Dana White actually made a quote. It's kind of like Rocky III. McGregor's got the money. He's either going to get hungrier and keep going, or he's just going to say he's done, which I think was a fantastic way of putting things by Dana White. He has turned into probably my favorite sports owner / commissioner, whatever you want to call it. That dude is awesome. I've watched so many videos, and he's such a nice guy, and he makes everything such interesting. Like, he's so involved. Like, he just seems like a down-to-earth, fun guy, like somebody you would want to go grab a drink with at a bar, and, you could just talk all day with the dude because he just seems so interesting. And, I think it was a great take by him, and I think he protects all his fighters. Like, anybody that fights for him under the UFC, he protects them like they're his children, which I think is awesome. I mean, truly, I haven't really started looking into that until now because I'm starting to enjoy fighting a little bit more, but I think he is such a great dude, a great commissioner and owner, and what they've done to have Fight Island and all that good stuff is just truly outstanding. So hats off to Dana White. He is becoming one of my favorite sports people. Like, I don't even know what to call them, sports people in general. But I don't know if I'm crazy or anything like that. But last night I'm driving. I left after the Chiefs game. I was I had my 2 hour and 30-minute drive, and I was tired, man. Like, I'm sitting there driving on the road. I'm like, oh my god, like this is just never gonna end. Surprisingly, it went a lot faster than I thought. But man, I got here last night and I passed out, and I was like, dude, I'm still tired. Like, I fell asleep in 2 of my classes today. I'm sitting there, I'm just like, whoa, when's this going to be over? I think we all get like this sometimes. And they're just saying notes, and you're like, oh my god. And then they say, oh, you're gonna have an exam in 2 weeks, and you're just like, oh no. I was just sitting there. I'm like, oh, God, we have an exam. And then he said, oh, don't worry. I give you guys a study guide. I'm like, woo, study guide. So I'm probably going to start working on that soon. This weekend, I actually got my first taste of poker. Never played poker in my life. I said Friday that I've never played poker. And actually, I wasn't the first guy to go out. Technically, I was the third. If I'd played my money a little bit smarter, then I probably could have lasted a little bit longer. But I was even tired then. I was like, dude, it was 3 a.m. We started playing at 11. Get to about 3, and I was like, dude, this is getting insane. I'm like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fun. I don't know, for those of you that have never played Texas Hold'em, because that's the type we played, and I don't know what version, like, I don't know if we did it right or not like that, but it was fun. It's always fun to hang out with your friends, especially on the weekends, especially when, you can just sit there and talk to them. I'm going to have my buddy Lincoln on tomorrow. I'm going to text him later today and see if he still wants to come on. Cade will be on this Thursday, and if I'm if I'm certain, I think Xavier will be on Sunday. So we're going to have a lot of different people this week. I'm super excited. I'm sorry that this episode was more aimed towards sports. But, I mean, I just want to kind of be a jack of all trades. I want to do everything, appeal to the masses. So thank you guys so much for listening. My food for thought, what do you guys want to talk about? If somebody stumbles across this video and just like, oh, throw a topic at me, I'll definitely talk about it, Don't want to talk football all the time, I want to talk everything. Stuff that's happening in the world, interesting stuff that's happening in the world. I actually watched a video just a few minutes ago on how Funyuns are made. Pretty interesting. Like, I don't know how many people, actually love watching those videos, but, just to watch how things are made is actually really satisfying. I watched a video on how Stetson hats are made. I was like, dude, that makes me want to go buy a Stetson hat now. If you guys can't see, I got a new flag there in the background. It says Budweiser. It's pretty cool. I'm actually kind of excited about it. But food for thought, what do you guys want to talk about this week? Who are you excited? Which of my friends are you excited to meet or hear from? As for that, it's been a great Monday. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Monday. Don't forget to get out, work out, do something, get active today, put a smile on your face. My name's Garrett Sims, and this has been